leading Britain's conversation with Matthew Wright.
Let's go to a former advisor to the Bank of England and UK Treasury, and that's Dr. Roger Gewald. Good morning to you, Roger.
Good morning.
How do you fancy playing Chancellor for the day? You have these three choices from the IMF. Do you accept those are the three options in front of you, or are there others we should be looking at?
I think the best option, which this government ignores, and which the Tories ignored and previous governments ignored, is that we are one of the very few countries on the planet that actually pays interest to the banks on all the phony money, the printed money, the quantitative easing. That's $50 billion a year almost, Matthew, which would actually pay, although nobody except Reform is talking about it, would actually pay to raise the tax threshold from £12,570 to $20,000, and would take a lot of low earners and pensioners out of the tax net and out of the higher taxes that they're unnecessarily paying at the moment. And the government, successive governments, love to use that $50 billion of interest, which of course the banks desperately need after 14 interest rate rises, don't you think? To say, oh my God, look, we're in a black hole. Isn't this terrible?
Very true. Of the three choices the IMF have presented Rachel Reeves with, which I'm really interested from you from the financial point of view, which is the one that would be most lucrative from a Treasury perspective? Not necessarily the easiest sell to the public, but which would bring in the most coin?
I think probably the NHS, but I think that's the worst one to consider.
How so? Because a number of people are mentioning, and I think they're right, that the idea of charging the wealthy for access to the NHS won't work because many of the wealthy will already have private healthcare. So where will the extra revenue come from?
Where it always does, from the non-wealthy.
Right. And the triple lock, which, I mean, I have been aware that our pensioners in many ways are better off than young working families and have been for the last 15 or 20 years. Again, it's a political no-no, but should the government be looking at I mean, the IMF isn't suggesting, scrap any kind of pension increases annually. They're saying link it to prices rather than give a choice of three and going with the biggest. It seems like a sensible option to me.
Yeah, I mean, pension lock, triple lock is really a misnomer. I mean, it's, triple standard or triple gauge or something. It's whichever of those three figures are the highest. And I suppose that's the easiest one to attack and the easiest one to go for, although it will be, as you say, immensely unpopular. But that's probably the easiest of the three because it changes things the least, I think.
I'm inclined to agree. Because the pensions would still increase. They'd increase in a meaningful way, but perhaps in a more manageable way. Pleasure talking to you as usual, Roger G.